Hey, everybody. It's John. Is Facebook Live working? Facebook's wonky today, everybody. You might not hear this. I might be talking to myself. I'm reloading a Facebook page to see if it's actually there. Hello, Facebook. Come on now. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're like, what are these guys talking about?
Zuckerberg's having a rough week, John.
He really is. He's killing us.
And his sister.
It's just, let's see. I've got spinning wheels of death on Facebook pages. Oh, this is so fun.
It's a great, you never know.
See, I'm talking to these. I don't know if people can see this.
I think they can now. Something just fell down from my display.
No, I got nothing.
Well, YouTube's going to have a field day with this today.
Oh, boy. Let's see. Yeah, it says Zoom, where we record this, says we're live on Facebook.
Jason Witten wants you to pull a rabbit out of your head and figure this out.
I would love to pull a rabbit out of my head and see if we can figure this out. Everybody, well, if you are watching, hi, I'm John Halpin. That's Ryan Fowler. Welcome to the Week 12 Tuesday edition of Pickwatch Live. We're going to start. Ryan, you want to talk about the Thursday game first? Thursday. The Monday game.
Monday game. Oh my gosh! I thought
we can't pass that up.
You're just looking forward to the eggnog. I know it. Thursday eggnog just has you so pumped.
At some point during the holiday season, we need to get into your eggnog fetish.
Fetish. You could have said expertise, but you went with fetish.
Total fetish.
So wrong. Anyways, yes, the Monday night game. Speaking of fetishes, Patrick Mahomes ketchup fetish, still weird. But yeah, entertaining, right? The fun. My most fascinating part of that game was Twitter reaction. Best game ever, best regular season game ever. We're parsing. It's the best game ever. Playoff game. Bring him in. Everybody's having fun. Nobody cares about defense is what we learned. We live in a fantasy football generation, and everybody just wants offense because defense, to hell with it. I mean, it's just hilarious to me where it's like, man, did you see that Vikings defense last year? Everybody was like so proud of it. And then Aaron Donald makes a play. Look at Aaron Donald, best defensive player in a 50-plus point game between two teams. I mean, I think it's funny when people are like, oh, what a great defender. And then everybody's going crazy for offense for 60 minutes. Amazing action. Tyreek Hill, I still don't know how Tyreek Hill just finds these gaps in these coverages and is always open. I know the one guy slipped. I think it was Marcus Peters on the deep shot late. But, man, just an exciting game. And there's so many weapons on both teams. That being said, I still think New Orleans is the best team in the NFC.
Yeah, I think you might be right. But, I really tremendously enjoyed that game. It was awesome. Really, just phenomenal.
Isn't it interesting to you, though, that, like, people every once in a while, and some of it's old school football fans, but, like, it's just like defense. I love Aaron Donald, but I also love 50-point games. Like, they're talking out both sides of their mouth when they want, oh, I love Aaron Donald, or I love Khalil Mack. But, man, I love some 50-point games where it's just up and down and nobody punts and nobody makes a stop. And I found it also funny. I don't know if you noticed this. Both teams went 3 and out there. I think it was early fourth quarter at the same, like back-to-back drives. I go, right. Out of all times, they go back-to-back. It was like both teams needed a breather there before the fun ending there.
Yeah, I thought that was great. It was so funny how the way people were reacting to the Rams' final possession. You know, they got the ball with a minute 30 left, and the Chiefs had 3 timeouts.
Right.
And the reaction, I mean, this is social media, real-time stuff. People reacting essentially with the idea of, why aren't they running the ball? They have Gurley. Gurley might have been banged up, it seems like.
Rolled up on early.
But no, he didn't want to just run clock. He didn't want to give them the ball.
Right.
There's no way he wanted those guys to have the ball back because he knew that if he gave them the ball in some sort of reasonable amount of time, that the odds of them at least getting a field goal was pretty good.
Right.
So, yeah, that was interesting. I got to say, I didn't even mind Tyreek Hill running the punt out of the end zone. I didn't care.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm with you. That dude makes plays. I mean, and he's so small. He gets smaller in space. I get it. Like, I think it was, I mean, maybe like 7 times out of 10, I don't. But because the only reason I didn't think it was a good idea is because his momentum was going backwards. But he's so fast, he can make up for that in a split second. I don't know. Hindsight's 20/20 on that, but I didn't really have a huge problem with it.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved every minute of that game, and I wish they could play again. I still think if it's Chiefs Saints in the Super Bowl, it's fine with me.
Yep.
I really think the Pats. I mean, there are some. This morning I've been seeing some of the. I don't want to make this an old school, new school thing, But some people go, oh, I don't know if you win like that in the playoffs. You can.
You can.
If the Pats don't get home field advantage against the Chiefs, they are toast.
Yes.
I mean, come on. They can't keep up with those guys.
Nobody can keep pace. Plus, and I don't know if you noticed this too, Mahomes is great. And some people were tweeting out last night that Mahomes might be the best, and this is in his first full season, the best passer on the run they've ever seen. And he's young, so we'll see if the arm strength keeps up throughout the course of his career as it has for some. But that's quite an accomplishment. Then late, and I know it was panic mode time, he threw some ducks. One got tipped, yada, yada, yada. But, I think he got a little too greedy. But then again, Goff underthrew some guys last night, too. Goff
he really did.
On a bunch of throws, especially that Robert Woods one came to mind before the go-ahead touchdown. But, yeah, quality play. And I think you're right about the Patriots. They need home field or they have no chance. Because unlike previous Patriots defenses, they do bend and they do break. They're not bend, do not break, as they have been in the past.
Yeah, I think that Mahomes throwing on the run, I think that's good. There was one play. I mean, when he rolls left and throws across his body and just kind of flicks it, I actually said I was out with a buddy of mine for the first half, and we're kind of like, okay, other than Rodgers, who can even dream about making that throw?
Right.
It's just crazy. So it was fun. I'm in for games like that all the time. That was great. That game exceeded the hype. We've been talking about this since probably week 4.
Yeah,
waiting for that one. It was worth it. It was worth every second of that wait. All right, and it helped me get to 5-8 for the week against the spread, taking the Chiefs in the 3.5. We had a bad week. You were 3-10 against the spread. I was 5-8. Why are people watching? Honestly, other than for the entertainment.
I don't know. Maybe the Facebook connectivity. They're all about.
We are live on Facebook, by the way. It is working.
Okay, well, we're back up.
I make bad picks. I've got sunlight coming in my window here that's somehow appeared out of nowhere after 12 weeks. I don't know what's going on. It's just a mess.
It's great.
All right, so I was 5-8 straight up even, and you were 6-7 straight up. So we're going to ignore us and go on to the people who actually did well. Ben Volen from the Boston Globe went 8-5, back in the lead. He was in the lead probably the first 9 weeks, back ahead of Jamie Eisenberg for CBS against the spread. You were currently ranked 12th. I'm 31st. Josh Katzwitz is 33rd. It was a little bit of a weird week. The best record against the spread was 9-4, which is kind of a normal week for a lot. That being the high record among 100-some people is a little on the low side. Straight up, Elliot Harrison from NFL Network leads at 109-50. I am 30th. I'm 8 games behind Elliot. You are 41st. Josh is 55th as among the fans. Bang One was 10-3. He leads at 111-48 against the spread. So he's the best on the whole site. Expert, fan, whatever. Bang One leads everybody. A user named Upstate1234 went 11-2 against the spread and now leads at 87-63. So that's a pretty nice job by Upstate1234. Pulled ahead of the guy with the Eagles. I forget the guy with the Eagles username. It's like Birds SB52.
Go Birds SB something. Yeah.
So I don't want any Eagles. No offense, I don't want any Eagles fans winning this. So forget that. All right. Well, get us on Twitter if you want to talk about any of the picks during the week. I'm at Halpin37. Ryan is at Freelance Fowler. And you can get the main account at Pickwatch. Yes.
No, just real quick. A few weeks ago, and just to kind of go over the theme of November as it pertains to gambling. Remember a few weeks ago, I shared a tweet with you how odds makers have done in November the last 5 years. 157 and 153 and 13. Last 10 years, 309 and 316 and 23. So this 50-50 coin flip, and you mentioned 9-4 being more in line, that is going to probably be the peak record when you look at the track record of odds makers over the last 10 years, where they're hovering right at about 500 is in what they want. So
right.
They took one on the chin last night, especially with the over bets they had to bring in. I saw multiple reports, Ravel out there, 7-figure loss, which is a blip on the radar for a sports book, but it does hurt temporarily because everybody hammered that over and they cashed in.
If those teams played in the Super Bowl, what would the over-under be?
65?
I was going to say, it would have to go up, but you can't go crazy. You can't set an over-under of 75.
Right.
So
where is it? Oh, it's in the Dome. It's in Atlanta.
Yeah.
This year. Yeah, I'd say probably 65, 66.
All right.
Maybe there'd be a hook there just to hose with everybody.
Okay, everyone. make your picks. Check out everyone else's picks, NFLPickwatch.com. As always, we're going to have the picks for before. They're probably being early. Normally we don't get them until late Thursday, early Friday, but since you have the Thanksgiving games, you're at least going to get those games in on the early side. Josh and I will be back on Friday morning with the weekend preview. So Ryan and I are going to do our Thursday picks today before we look at the rest. We'll sort of do a quick look at the rest of the games. We're going to talk more about the Thursday games than because we usually don't have them. We have one Thursday game. All right, let's get to week 12. Chiefs and Rams are off. Well-deserved. Take a bow, guys. You played a great game. Thursday, I like all 3 Thursday games.
So do I.
There's something I want to watch in all of them.
Yes.
Yeah. First is Bears-Lions, and I want to watch the Bears.
Bears.
I want to watch their defense. The Lions.
I want to watch their defense.
After last night, I want to watch someone play defense.
That's awesome.
So this game, I've been talking about this with the Redskins lately, and the Redskins have, to their credit, worked hard, fought hard. But at some point, you can't deal with all the injuries, right?
Sure, agreed.
And the absences. So the Lions, over the last, I don't know if TJ Lang's going to play this week, but in the last few weeks, Kerryon Johnson's hurt. He's not playing this week. He dodged a big bullet, but it sounds like 1 or 2 games that he's going to be out. Marvin Jones still hurt. Not sure what his status is for Thursday. A few weeks ago, remember they traded Golden Tate. At some point, you lose too much, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know they beat the Panthers, but I don't know. This one seems like it's weird because these guys played last week. They're playing twice in 11 days, if I've got the schedule right. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah, because they played out.
The Bears won 34-22. They had 6 sacks. There were 3 turnovers this game. Even though it was 34-22, it was 34-10 after the third quarter. Mm-hmm. So the Bears, I want to say the Lions have lost too much, but I'm always trying to find a reason to argue for the home dog, right? So the Bears on the road.
Atlanta thanks you for that. We'll get to them.
The Bears have lost. They lost to the Packers in that comeback game in week 1, right?
Yep.
They barely got by Arizona.
Yep.
They lost at Miami. And, all right, they torched the Bills with, Peterman and, the big disaster up there. What do you do with that one? Like, what do you make of this? Can the Bears go in and rout the Lions, or do you think they will?
So we have to kind of go with context clues from the most recent game, and that's the Lions-Panthers. Because I like what the Bears are doing on both sides of the football right now. Khalil Mack is just a complete monster. So let's look at what the Lions did against the Panthers. They almost peed down their leg and blew a game, right? If you look at that last play that the Panthers scored the touchdown on, I mean, Cam Newton wasn't running as much as I think he has in the past in circumstances where there was a wide open field in front of him. And that was driving me crazy in that game because the Panthers have the ability to cover that because it's the same spread. That's the other thing I wanted to know. Panthers were giving 4 to the Lions, so it's the same exact spread in this case.
Right.
And the one thing that you look at the Bears makeup that the Panthers didn't have, they have Christian McCaffrey, scrawny little guy, not between the tackles runner. The Bears have Jordan Howard. He's going to destroy that Lions rush defense that is a sieve. So
they didn't. I don't know. Once they got Harrison, I feel like the between the tackles defense has been a little better.
Not based on team rankings and last 3 games and things like that. I mean, again, and the other thing you have to also remember is Trubisky's mobility. That has become a bigger factor this year than I think. Yeah. It's kind of like an outlier type thing. But, I mean, when everybody's running run-pass option right now and Trubisky has that mobility, that's scary when you stretch it out over the course of the season. And Matt Nagy's innovative and things like that. So there might be more options for that as a play call here in the future. Plus, if people are overplaying Jordan Howard, I mean, then you're going to see a little bit more Trubisky. So, I mean, I lean Bears in this, definitely. Again, though, it's like the Panthers, they should have won and covered that game. And that's most of these games this past weekend drove me nuts because there just wasn't that moment of opportunity where teams were knocking teams over and taking advantage. Like I said, there were multiple occasions where Cam Newton had the lane, and I think they had to settle for a field goal on one of them because he didn't run the 2 yards that he typically runs to score a touchdown. I don't know if he was banged up or protecting himself or what, but the flow of that game was complete garbage from Carolina's standpoint. Lions did what they could, but Marvin Jones banged up, Kerryon, no Golden Tate. All their tight ends are hurt. Levine Toll is their only tight end. and he's a pass blocker. So Galladay made a heck of a catch to score one of their touchdowns, which, again, some luck goes into. I mean, they have to strike right, and I think there's just not enough weapons on Detroit's side to keep it close.
Yeah, you might be right. And since Mac got back from injury, that defense
he's
better.
Scary. I mean, did you see him push over that one lineman?
Yeah.
I mean, one-handed. He's like, boink, and he just tipped over. Now he's probably off balance, but still, Khalil Mack's also very strong, and I think Stafford, he crumbles in the pocket, so there's that too.
I think I'm going Bears and giving the points. Yeah. I don't love doing it, but I'm going to do it. So, you?
I agree. I mean, I'm Bears. Bears by 6-7 points. It's on the road. I get. And the other thing that a lot of people were noting last night was, man, that stinks that NBC got to flex the game to Sunday night because it's even less time for the Bears to heal up before an early Thursday game. So that amount of time where your body gets to recuperate is even shorter.
Which matters.
It does matter.
All right. Yeah, I mean, the thing, by the way, when we do notes, we talk about different notes for these games. Sometimes we talk about, hey, this is the team's record against the spread. Usually we do it when it's more of an extreme. If it's, hey, they're, 5-4, yeah, who cares? If they're both middle of the road, that's why we're not talking about it, by the way. If we don't, that's why. All right, so we're going Bears, both of us. All right, Redskins, Cowboys. Spread right now, Cowboys by 7.5, over-under 41. They played in week 7. The Redskins won 20-17 at home. They held Ezekiel Elliott to 33 yards rushing. The Cowboys seem to, and Dak lost 2 fumbles. That was the big thing in that game. They seem to be feeding Zeke quite a bit since then. Big news here, Alex Smith injured after that ugly injury. Colt McCoy. So my first reaction to this was, well, you know what? Colt McCoy is not the worst backup you can have.
He knows the system.
But he hasn't really played in 4 years. And we don't know what he is. Like there was a time, I talk about it all the time, and I'm in Charlotte, and Derek Anderson was here. And there were years when the Panthers made the playoffs, Derek Anderson helped the Panthers win games as a backup. Mm-hmm. And people here say, you know what, he's probably the best backup in the league. But Derek Anderson went out and played for the Bills this year, and he stunk.
Right.
Because it's 4 or 5 years later.
Yep.
This makes me wonder, I don't know if I can count on Colt McCoy to be the same guy that he was a few years ago when he started occasionally and was a halfway decent backup. I don't know. It's such a wild card. It worries me.
It's a lot of points.
Yeah.
And Adrian Peterson's still running well. Here again, and it's just crazy to watch Alex Smith's injury. And what have we talked about over the last 2 weeks? How the Washington Redskins offensive line just got so beat up and battered. They were down 3 offensive starters, and then less than 2 weeks later, Alex Smith's leg breaks because of the pass rush of Houston combined with the injuries. So it's almost like foreshadowing, not to mention all the crazy connections with the Theismann injury. The Cowboys have looked great over the last few weeks. Zeke is a complete monster, but we already knew that. I think Dallas's defense is a lot better than I think a lot of people thought it would be as the season played out. Van Der Esch, that guy it's like Sean Lee's not missing, so it's only like, man, imagine if they had Sean Lee and Van Der Esch. Now, I know some packages, both of them can't be on the field, but that Van Der Esch is just a complete monster. So they have a lot of things going for them. That offense just, if it's not Zeke, how do they cover 7.5? Like if Zeke has an off day because of the short week, how do they cover the 7.5 when? And again, Colt McCoy went out there, and if Alex Smith finishes that game against the Texans cover, right? Throwing Colt McCoy in there and he scores a touchdown like 2 seconds later because of a penalty that extended that drive, I believe, which is maddening to no end. It just seemed like everything was going in the Texans' favor. They were going to be able to cover, I think it was 2.5 or 3 on the road. I think it was 2.5, and they won by 2 on the road. And then Colt McCoy comes in and kind of throws everything. So now the Cowboys have a few days to prep for Colt McCoy. Like you said, a lot of rust on him. My big concern is always going to come back to, is there enough Ezekiel Elliott to cover 7.5? And I pause on that, and I think the Redskins can keep it just close enough, maybe with Adrian Peterson. But, man, then I counter – and this is what happens when you have to do it on Monday for 2 days down the road. is the Cowboys defense just going to completely bottle up Adrian Peterson, and that's how they cover the 7.5. I could see myself last minute switching to the Cowboys. As of Monday, I'm picking the Redskins to cover the 7.5. I think one other telltale sign of that 7.5 is the over/under 41. So they have to. Yep. The point total is 41, and the Cowboys have to cover 7.5. I think there's some context clues there to take the skin.
It's hard. I agree, and I think it's too many points too, because I think the Redskins defense is good enough to keep the Cowboys in check.
Yeah, the rush defense is good.
This looks like a 20 to 17, 24 to 20. Unless I think the Redskins are only going to score 10 points, then I think they're probably going to get into that number.
Right. So because I think Colt McCoy maybe 190 yards passing, but he could have 2 touchdowns. That's where you have to passing touchdowns.
I don't know who he's throwing to, but
But then again, AP is kind of rekindled everything. I mean, AP's line wasn't sexy, but he had 2 touchdowns against the Texans' rush defense. So
I'm having so much trouble finding injury news, by the way.
It has become a little thin, but I think a lot of the people that we rely on for injury news are probably on the vacation right now, so the updates probably aren't.
Well, it's because Monday's a kind of a down day after the game, and then they're probably playing on Thursday. Right. So it's early in the week, and it's kind of like, we might not know anything till today on some of the injuries.
Because they have to go through at least a practice, and their bodies are resting on Monday.
So we don't know. The word from the Redskins was Trent Williams is going to be back this week. That was last week's word.
Right.
They think he's going to be back. We don't know about Chris Thompson or any of those guys, so we're just going to have to wait and see. All right, Falcons-Saints. Saints favored by 13. Over-unders 59.5. They played in week 3. The Saints won 43-37 in overtime. They had 534 yards of offense against them. Calvin Ridley blew up 7-for-146, 3 touchdowns. So the Saints have scored 144 points in their last 3 games. 5 of their last 6 have been by double digits. They have been not just winning, they've been blowing people out. At some point, obviously that train needs to stop. But when does it stop? I look at this, it's another one. I look at it and I go, it's a lot of points, but I feel like I've been saying that about the Saints for a few weeks, and they keep just killing people.
Falcons are a terrible team. Whatever happened in Washington 2 weeks ago is a complete anomaly. Because after the Washington win, 38-17, something like that. I mean, they posted some points on a banged-up Washington team that doesn't have a lot of offense to keep pace with the Falcons. And this goes back to your theory. Stuff happens, and that was a stuff happens game because Atlanta then goes to Cleveland, and Nick Chubb rushes 20 times for 176 yards, estimate. And then they come back, and Ezekiel Elliott is the leading receiver. Not only the leading rusher, but the leading receiver for the Cowboys, because even though the Falcons are getting healthier, they can't stop running backs. And who do they get this week? Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara caught 4,000 passes for 150 yards the first time they met. They didn't have to face Ingram. That 2-headed monster is wreaking havoc on other teams. Falcons can't stop running backs. I mean, New Orleans is just in such a groove right now that I don't even think a division rival can rattle them right now. There's just, if they go out, and I know the Eagles secondary was banged up, but you hold the Eagles to 7 points. Forget the offense. You hold, so that defense is just on another level. So when you look back at week 3, that's a different time and place. That might as well be 5 years ago, because the Saints defense over the last, I looked it up, since the Saints played the Falcons in week 3, the Saints defense has allowed 19.3 points per game.
Okay.
19.3.
Yeah.
So, and they're going to score 40 points on the Falcons because they can't stop Ingram and Kamara because their defense is terrible.
Yep. All right. I don't know.
Saints by 17.
Really? I don't know what to do. I think I'm taking the Falcons. And I feel like it's one of those things that I'm not learning from mistakes. I made mistakes the last few weeks, and I'm going down the same road of the big spread.
I mean, I just don't see where do the Falcons cover? I mean, if the Saints defense would have to regress to the mean all of a sudden for them to cover the 13, because the Falcons are not going to be able to stop the Saints.
Yeah.
So it's all on the Saints defense to cover that 13 completely. Or Drew Brees with only one turnover 11 weeks into the season would have to have a tipped pass go the wrong way. But he's so precise, I just don't see that happening. There would have to be a turnover type mentality. But the Falcons just they see for what and the other thing is the Falcons were held to field goals in that first half against the Cowboys on their home turf. Now they have to go to New Orleans. Like, there's just so many things going against. And again, this is what happens in the NFL, where you go completely to one side, and then, again, water reaches its level and it comes back. But the Saints are bucking that trend, and the Falcons are going the opposite direction at lightning quick speed, where they can't even beat the Cowboys on their home field. Really?
I know.
You're settling for Matt Bryant field goals when you have Julio Jones, Mohamed Sanu, Tevin Coleman, Calvin. Like, you have all these weapons. You're settling for field goals?
Right now, I'm going Falcons against the spread. I might change fair warning, I might change my mind before Thursday.
We have been warned.
All right. Are you enjoying me trying to dodge the sun, by the way?
I am. I see you. You're like a boxer in training. You're just.
It is. I'm trying to move around here. What do we got here? This might be better now.
It is. Slide. A little to your right. A little to your right. A little to your right. Stop.
Do you see behind me?
You're centered. There's some on your, but you're fine right there.
All right.
There. Like a movie.
Sure.
Like a movie. Yep. You're good.
It is. What if I went like this? What if I crouched?
No. Unless the sun might be in your eyes, but we can't see it on camera. There's some sun spots on your wall, but it's not on you. No, you're good.
All right. Well, let's keep going. Let's get to the rest of the games. Sunday, Monday games. Quick discussions of these, and Josh and I will get to them on Friday morning. Jags, Bills. Jags favored by 3 at Buffalo, over-under 37.5. Josh Allen back for the Bills. Not that that's, earth-shattering news, but it's, better than what they've been throwing out there, generally. What do you think? Do you think the Jags are just going to roll over now?
Leonard Fournette will carry it 25 to 30 times, and we'll see what happens. I don't know.
The Bills' defense is pesky, and this is a game that the Bills' defense being pesky against that horrible quarterback the Jags have could make a big difference.
Absolutely. It could be the carbon copy of those games where they force turnovers on the Jaguars side of the 50 and they work with a short field, and Josh Allen looks like the second coming because he scored a touchdown, not because he marched down the field. These have been games where Josh Allen has taken advantage of the short field off the turnover. Jaguars, aside from Leonard Fournette, where, again, they own that clock and they still couldn't put the Steelers away. That's a bad Jaguars team. They're just not. Jalen Ramsey made some plays, but Roethlisberger plays like poo on the road as of late, or plays down. I just wonder if that game on Sunday took the life out of them. You know what I mean? Oh, absolutely.
Like, they had it, and they were saving their season, and then they threw it away. And now that you wonder if they're just like, oh, come on. Now we're 3-7. Now we're toast.
Now you have to play at Buffalo in late November, which is never fun.
Yeah, the wind out of their sails. That's kind of the way I'm looking at this one. I think I'm probably going to pick the Bills.
I'll take the Bills. Why not? LaShawn McCoy maybe have another big day after a big day 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. All right. Raiders, Ravens. Ravens favored by 11, over under 42.5. So Lamar Jackson, first drive of the game, they ran 11 straight times. He ran 27 times. It's a different, this is a different kind of offense than you're seeing anywhere, especially since last night. Here's the thing about this game. The Ravens they're okay, right? They're kind of an okay team. We know that the Raiders are bad, even though they beat the Cardinals. But I look at this game and I go, if a team runs as much as the Ravens figure to, I didn't want to pick them to cover against the Bengals the other day because I didn't know what I was going to get out of Lamar Jackson. And that turned out to be right. But this game, do you want to lay 11 points with a mediocre team that is going to shorten the game by running the ball so much?
It's a fair point. I don't know if you saw time of possession in that Bengals game. Did you?
No, I didn't.
What do you think it was?
36.
38-8.
Yeah.
they dominated that clock. And I'm like, man, because I check time of possession every week for some of my analysis just because I'm kind of curious. And mostly it's 50-50 or 52-48 split, but 38-22, I mean, that's a good chunk of time. Plus, we got to know Gus Edwards a little bit. That was interesting.
Are you rah-rah? Are you rah-rah? Hoorah, hoorah. Rutgers rah.
Rutgers guy?
Yeah.
Here we go again.
It's my new Kenny Britt.
Oh,
I got Gus Edwards.
Here we go again. Oh, yeah, Lord. And it's geographically secure based on playing in Baltimore. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I like the Ravens in this spot. I think their defense, like some of the, I don't know how much of the Raiders-Cardinals game you got to see on Red Zone, but Derek Carr and Jay Gruden or John Gruden are not on the same page. They're chirping at each other. Both are frustrated to no end, even though it worked out this past week because Josh Rosen is just not good. I don't think there's enough things going right. Then you have to go across the country. Stars have to align, and I think if Lamar, I don't think Gruden's defense is creative enough to figure out on tape what the Bengals did wrong for them to correct it this in 1 week turnaround. I think if he had more weeks of tape and more time to prepare for Lamar Jackson, maybe they're able to slow him down, but it's still fresh. It's a different new look way of the Ravens moving the chains. Plus, the Ravens defense, even though they've regressed, is still pretty darn good, and the Derek Carr will probably make a few mistakes in that game. So even though it's a big number, I'll take the Ravens in that one.
Okay, I'm not sure about this one yet. I got to think about it. Bucks, Niners. Bucks favored by 3.5, over under 55. Jameis back starting for the Bucks. O.J. Howard, we're not sure if he's going to play for the Bucks, but Jameis is back. I mean, look, we got two bad teams here.
Yep.
But yeah, no surprise that they're going back to Jameis quarterback, and they'll score points. That's for sure.
Over. Don't even worry about the spread in this game. That spread's a trap. Focus on the over. Looked it up yesterday. Both teams have allowed 46 passing touchdowns this year. The Buccaneers have allowed another 14 rushing touchdowns, with Saquon having a big week last week. There's just too many sieves in this defense. The 49ers, they're coming out of the bye, which helps a little bit. Still have to go across the country. And the 49ers track record, I know it's different bodies behind center and defenses and all that, but their West Coast playing on the East Coast in the early window track record is not very good. I think you just ignore the spread, focus on the over, because Tampa Bay, I mean, they're just if Fitz comes off the bench, if Jameis comes off the bench, they're finding a way to get to that 20-30 point threshold. And Mullins in his 2 starts is averaging about 28 points per game, so they're definitely going to flirt with that over.
All right. I think I'm going to take the Bucks with Mullins playing on the road.
Yeah.
There. Otherwise, you mentioned the over. 49ers, 9 of their last 13 have been over. Bucks, 9 of their last 11 have been over. So I'm with you on the over.
46 passing touchdowns they've allowed between the two of them.
It's brutal. It's really brutal. Okay. Giants, Eagles. Eagles favored by 6 at home, over under 46. Eagles struggling. Eagles thumped the Giants on a Thursday night about a month ago. I don't remember the score, but I think it was 1,000,000-0, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of like that.
You rounded up.
The Giants, 2-game win streak. 49ers and Bucks, and beats losing, I guess. Eagles are really struggling. So right now, interesting stat: Giants 4-1 against the spread on the road. Eagles 1-4 against the spread at home.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean anything to you?
Well, I don't have the teams that they covered against. The only team I know they covered against on the road was Houston before Deshaun really got rolling. But outside of that, I'm not sure who their road ATS wins are. See, this goes back to the NFC East is still a winnable division. Everybody's kind of in it, even though the Eagles got completely destroyed. It's so funny. I mean, the Eagles have looked so bad. Their secondary is decimated. The Giants have good receivers, right? I mean, we can all agree.
So I've heard,
receiver, if Eli has enough time to throw. And it's still the Giants getting 6 points. And I think had the Giants stepped on the throat of the Buccaneers and not let Jameis come in and complete 12 of 16 passes with 2 touchdowns for 199 yards in basically 2 quarters, which is absolutely ridiculous. This spread would have been a lot lower because the Giants would have shown a little sign of life, but because they almost blew that lead, I believe it was a 17-point lead in the second half. It might have been 13. And Jameis just torched them. It grew back to 6 because the Giants are who we thought they were. And again, their defense, they moved some assets out, so that also comes into focus. I'll take the Eagles to cover in this one.
I'm not sure yet. I think I will too. I'm going to wait till
it'll be close, but I think the Giants still have a lot of flaws that haven't been noted in recent weeks, where the Eagles, for as banged up as they are on defense, maybe the pass rush gets to them. There was one note in that I think it was in the Saints game. They lost Kelsey on the line, so they couldn't even run. So again, injury updates. I don't know what Kelsey's status is for Week 12, but they need some rushing game, and that has been completely absent outside of a little bit of Adams here and there.
Josh Adams is actually running fairly well.
He is.
Problem is they were down by 1 million points the other day.
Right.
I keep saying the word 1 million. I'm overusing it today. But all right, injuries, Kelsey. Let's see what we got here. We got nothing. All I see is skill players.
Of course, because those are the only people that matter. If we watch Monday Night Football, we would know that.
Tyron Smith on the Cowboys. This is ESPN's list of the big injuries, which I knew about a lot of them, but let's see. Tyron Smith, he should play, by the way. The Saints, we're not sure about their guards. The Texans lost both starting guards the other day.
Yes, that was noted.
Because I don't see Kelsey on the report, so maybe he's okay.
Yeah, Deshaun was running for his life after he lost those guards.
All right.
Eagles.
Next up, Bengals-Browns. So this is at Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah.
Spread's 3. Bengals by 3, over under 47.5. This spread says respect to me.
Thank you. That's what I wrote about. I wrote about this game yesterday, so I'm kind of, and obviously Browns, and I live in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
But yeah, the spread says, it's crazy when you look at the history of the Bengals hosting the Browns since 2008. They've been favored in all but one game. The Bengals have. When they've hosted the Browns since 2008, they've been favored in all but one game. And that game they weren't favored was a pick'em. So, but now you look at 3 and you're like, 3 points for the home field advantage. We're going in even.
Right.
Here's the thing, and Browns are coming out of the bye. Here's the thing. I didn't even notice this was in your notes. AJ Green is the thing that will push them over the top to be able to cover the 3. If AJ Green doesn't play, Browns have a great shot at winning this game because in-state rivalry, Baker Mayfield is no dummy. He knows what this game means for the state of where the Browns are going, especially coming off the win over Atlanta, which nobody gave him a chance to do. Nick Chubb is running out of his mind, and the Bengals defense, if you haven't noticed, is terrible, like awful.
Yeah, they're bad.
So, and it's not showing any. Marvin Lewis fired his defensive coordinator. He took over defensive calls, and they allowed 400-plus yards of offense instead of 500. And again, the Ravens held the ball for 38 minutes. So my thought was, looking at what Lamar Jackson did, even though Baker Mayfield's not as mobile, just run the ball, control the clock, and you can pull off this win. The problem is if A.J. Green comes, the Browns defense still isn't just right to be able to do that. I think A.J. Green is the difference between a 4-point win for the Bengals and the Browns pulling the upset on the road.
All right. Yeah, I would like to see this status too because I want to pick the Browns. And if A.J. Green's out, I probably will.
I would agree. I would do the same thing.
All right. Pats-Jets in New York. Pats by 9.5, over under 46. They're hoping to get Gronk back this week. So the Pats they've been shaky on the road, right? They lost to Jacksonville, Detroit, Tennessee on the road. And they were all decisive.
Yeah.
Those losses. Their wins, they won at Chicago by 7. They beat the Bills. It was 25-6, but the game was closer than that. There was a late turnover. There was a touchdown wiped out, followed by a turnover, a pick 6. That kind of turned the game upside down. But the Bills were giving them fits, really. It's a matter of, what are the Jets going to do? Sam Darnold, he didn't practice Monday. He said they're holding out hope that he can play, but this doesn't look good. So let's say Josh McCown plays. Do the Jets have enough fight in them? Because last game against the Bills, that was just such a – I say every week, I don't want to look at a team and say they're quitting.
Right.
Like the Raiders this week. The Raiders haven't quit, clearly, right? And of all the teams, we would have thought it was them. The Jets sure as heck look like a team that quit against the Bills. Do you think that after the bye they come back and they, kind of show some fight?
If Josh McCown's the quarterback, they do not cover the 9.5. If Sam Darnold's the quarterback, and probably not at 100% if he does play, I think they do cover. They got to find a way. And I think Darnold, again, he's playing for his next contract. It starts right away. And Darnold's trying to be the face of the franchise. So I think, again, there are some areas to make a case for Darnold being able to cover it if he does suit up. But Josh McCown and everything, I think that Josh McCown, God bless him, he's survived and advanced in a lot of his career. But I think at this state, he's kind of in the Derek Anderson spot start for the Bills type situation where there's not rust on McCown because he's had to play for the Jets. But, man, I think the Patriots, they're going to, again, go for how bad they looked the last time out. I think the Patriots come out, send a message like, hey, I know everybody's talking about the Chiefs. Even though the Chargers chargering is back into the conversation, you still have to go through us to win the AFC. And I wouldn't be – and, again, Gronk coming back allows Brady just one more weapon. The one thing that I think you have to look out from the Patriots is what does the running game do this week? Because with Sony Michel being hurt for the better part of the last month and James White just kind of being out of sight, out of mind, they got to get that going because a lot of their positive things that happened in the first half of the season came when Michel and James White were heavily involved, and I just haven't heard those names pop up in recent games.
Sounds like Sony Michel's going to be ready to go.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing right there. I think they need to get some type of running game going.
I feel better. I feel strong.
Best shape of my life.
Best shape of my life. So it sounds like Sony Michel's going to be ready. All right. I think I'm probably going to go Patriots there, but, I'm going to kind of dig into that a little more. Seahawks-Panthers in Charlotte. Panthers by 3.5, over-under 47. Big wild card ramifications here. I mean, these teams could be fighting for the last wild card spot. Mm-hmm. And the Panthers, they've been talking about Jekyll and Hyde teams. 5-0 at home, 1-4 on the road. That game the other day, you talked about the 2-point conversion. The guy was open, and Cam missed it.
Yeah.
We don't know what would happen after that. This is one of those West Coast teams with a 1 o'clock start. It's a factor. Depends on how much you want to think it is. Maybe minor, maybe major. The Seahawks 4-1-1 against the spread in their last 6 games. Pretty good. I'm leaning Panthers here. Like I said, at home they've just been a different team. Mm-hmm. And after the 2 losses, I think they're probably gonna. I think the Steelers game. Their attitude after the Steelers game was they kind of shook it off quickly. They had the 10 days, and they hated that they got killed like that, but the attitude seemed to be, all right, we just got to move on. It was just bad as bad gets, and we're going to move on. And it just happened. And they were going to bounce back against the Lions, and they didn't. I think this is a good game. I think the Panthers' defense has been alarmingly mediocre at best. Yeah. But I think they bounce back here.
That hook on the 3 makes me nervous because of Russell Wilson in the fourth quarter. Russell Wilson in the fourth quarter, it's just a different Seahawks team. And if they're down and they're in striking distance in the fourth, that hook's going to come into focus. I just guarantee it. The Seahawks might not win outright.
Yep.
But, man, that's trouble. That's brewing trouble. I'd probably, to be honest, I'd fade the game if I wasn't doing this for a living and having to make it. But because it's dangerous. It's just a fire pit right now. I like the Panthers at home too. I get that justification. But man, Russell Wilson in the fourth should just be like its own category in the sports book, right? I mean, we're just going to focus on Russell Wilson and Tyler Lockett and his cast of characters. Plus, the other thing is, I didn't see how did Kerryon do before his injury against them?
He was playing very well.
And look at the run offense of the Seahawks. Control the clock. You're on the road. This could be like a 34-minute time of possession win for the Seahawks, which would allow them to cover that 3.5. I think I'm leaning Seahawks right now, and I feel pretty good about it just because I don't see the Panthers running away with it where it would just – but then again, after 3-10 last week, my confidence is completely shook. So
yeah, I know what you're saying. I'm with you. I think this for the Panthers, this might be one of those, and I sometimes I tend to read into intangibles too much when I do this, but I look at the Panthers and I go, this might be a holy crap, we better straighten ourselves out kind of game.
Like they did against the Ravens.
Yeah. Like, hey, let's, whoa, I mean, 2 in a row. Let's fix this. And maybe they step up a little bit.
And you mentioned intangibles, so I'll give you one for the Seahawks. They are still one of the most undisciplined teams on the offensive line. How many false starts they get? Like, they haven't fixed that in, I think, 3 years. I think I was writing about that for Fox 3 years ago, that the offensive line, 10 penalties for like 90 yards because they jump early, and it kills a lot of momentum that they have.
All right, Dolphins, Colts, Andrew Luck, the cleanest quarterback in the world. Dove for that pass from Eric Ebron the other day. That was a fun-looking play.
Oh, I appreciated that more than just the average fan, I think. I was like, man, that dude has a bad shoulder. We know it's probably not tip-top, and he's diving for passes. Appreciate that.
So the Colts have won 4 in a row. They're averaging 36.5 over those 4 wins, which is pretty strong. The Dolphins have lost 3 of 4, and in the game they won, it was a pickoff fest against Sam Darnold, where they did not score an offensive touchdown. This looks like another. I feel like, and I know it's wrong, I actually had to look, because when I looked at this game, my first reaction was, have the Colts played 9 games at home? Like, I feel like every week they're at home.
That's a great point. You're right.
And they're at home. I mean, they only played 5 or whatever, but
right.
This just seems like this is certainly the 2 teams going in opposite directions. I know it's a big spread. The Dolphins are no good.
Awful.
Yeah.
And hurt. Like, they're not good, and they're not getting healthy. It's a kind of a poison pill for them right now.
I'm pretty sure I'm going Colts here, and I'm not thinking twice about it.
I mean, the Colts just annihilated one of the I hate to say best and Titans in the same sentence, because the Titans I'm not picking. You'll see no pick on Pickwatch on my Titans games because I don't want to touch them. They're mad. I'm kidding. They're maddening, though. And for the Colts to do what they did, they're going to destroy the Dolphins, in my mind. I mean, the Titans' defense is good, and Andrew Luck just completely carved it up.
Yep. All right.
I'll take the Colts to roll.
Me too. Chargers, Cardinals. Chargers at home favored by 12. Over under 45. The Chargers are now 1-4 against the spread at home. The only team they really beat was, and not to pick on you, the only team they really beat on was the Browns. Everybody else has been a close one. This game on Sunday, they just threw it away. They were up 20-7, and Rivers threw just that inexplicable interception to Von Miller. It was so bad. And I'm not beating up on Rivers. I like the guy. He just made a terrible play. And Miller sniffed it out. Like, he was starting to rush, and he went, "Oh no, he's throwing this way. I'm backing up." Yep. It was kind of cool to watch.
It was.
The Cardinals, as bad as it was to lose to the Raiders at home, they've been competitive lately. When they played at Kansas City, they lost by, I think, 12. They covered, but they weren't bad, Like, they were kind of okay, and they didn't look like they were overmatched as much as you thought they might be.
Sure.
Going into that game, some people are like, the Chiefs are going to crush these guys. Well, they didn't. I mean, they beat them by 12, but the Cardinals were okay. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if the Chargers, they're kind of mad and come back with a big effort after what they did against the Broncos, or if this is just maybe just the Cardinals are not, especially on defense, the Cardinals are not awful.
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to what you were talking about with the Jaguars and the Steelers. I know it's 2 different tiers of quality of opponent, but I mean, the Cardinals had no business losing to the Raiders. None. And they get embarrassed on their home field. So that is pretty maddening. I think when you look at the Chargers, they get another week of Bosa. That's not going to make life fun for Josh Rosen. That is a big spread, though. And you bring up a good point of how well the Cardinals competed at Kansas City, even though they probably had no chance of winning that game. They did compete. There's just the Cardinals just have so many holes in so many different areas that I can't make heads or tails of them. What I will say is I do like the over in this, because I think a turnover. Phillip Rivers is starting to he made some mistakes, which he hadn't done a bunch this year. And those mistakes turned into points for a Denver Broncos team that's not known for scoring or putting a lot of points on the board. So I think the same thing could happen here. I think the 45 over could hit because either the Cardinals compete or the Chargers blow them out and it still hits that 46 threshold. I do like the over in this. I think if I had to pick the point spread, I'd probably take the Cardinals hesitantly, and that could change throughout the course of the week because Chargers have a lot of weapons and they have Joey Bosa back after kind of his dress rehearsal against the Broncos. But I do like the over in this situation here.
All right, that's an interesting one right there. I'm going to reserve judgment on this game again. I think I'm probably leaning Chargers, but I don't love it at the moment. Steelers Broncos at Denver. So Steelers by 3, over under 47. These teams are both doing okay. Steelers 5-0-1 against the spread in their last 6. Broncos 4-1 against the spread in their last 5. Here's my thing with this game. The spread is close. If this was a big spread, if I saw 5 or 6, I'd be all over the Broncos. It's a close, they're making me think for sure.
Right.
Because I don't like the Broncos as a team, but I like that they keep things close.
Yep.
At home, they held the Chiefs to 27 and the Rams to 23. Mm-hmm. Kind of relevant after what we saw last night.
Yep.
I mean, they didn't have defenses stopping them, but that's another story. The Steelers on the road, 21-30, 28-23-20. Not fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. It's 24-something a game. It's okay. Like I don't think a Steelers blowout is a likely scenario.
Sure.
It's just a matter of how much the Broncos can score.
Right.
To keep up. Like I think the Steelers will score 24. That makes me think 3, man, that's close. The 3-point spread, that makes it really hard.
It really does. Because, I'm with you there. I think the 3 is so deceiving. I mean, it's just baiting you to take the Steelers.
Yeah.
I think the Steelers, if you're looking at the 3 and you're wishy-washy about it, you're basically praying for a push if you go with the Broncos. You're praying for a push if you take the Broncos. Take the Steelers. I will take the Steelers.
I think I might too, because I don't think the Broncos winning is that likely.
Right.
Like if the Broncos wind up coming out of this at 5-6, that would be a little surprising to me.
Right. So. And again, the Steelers got a reality check in Jacksonville last week. I mean, that woke them up. The one thing, again, it's just crazy to me. Some of these running backs in the NFL. And again, you're a lot closer to it because you're doing this and you're covering fantasy football. But Phillip Lindsay, Matt Breida, you had Gus last week. You have this new influx of guys that are not household names yet, but they're well on their way. I mean, Phillip Lindsay might be one of my favorite running backs to watch this year.
He's fast.
He runs violently.
Yeah.
He's playing with a chip on his shoulder, which the Broncos need based on the rotation of running backs they've used over the last 5 years. So, again, with the reason I bring up Lindsay is because Leonard Fournette carried it 15,000 times last week, and that strategy almost worked.
Yeah,
Lindsay's averaging, I think, close to 5 per carry at last check, and that might have changed over time. But that would be the way that the Broncos were able to win and pull the upset, would be a Lindsay-based offense because it worked with Leonard Fournette.
And Freeman ran well the other day too, in his return. Like I think they complement each other really well.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, this is not an ezy game. There's a lot of games on this. A lot of weeks I look, I go, oh, there's a ton of games I like. This one I don't, which maybe I'll probably do better. Vikings by 3.5 at home, over under 47.5. So I put in my notes that this game, just to confirm, this game is in Minnesota, right? Can I please get some clarification? Sure. I'm doubting myself, and I have it written down, and I know where it is, and I'm still doubting myself. So it's in Minnesota, yes, because they played that game early in the year at Lambeau when they tied. So I have my first thing on my notes is that there's snow in the forecast. Ryan, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that note?
Minnesota plays in a dome, John.
Correct. Minnesota plays in the dome.
But maybe you were thinking of their last stadium where the roof collapsed and snow fell on the field. Maybe that's what you had in your head.
So the Packers, speaking of one of those extreme teams, 4-0-1 at home, 0-5 on the road. And in that 4-0-1 at home, they had the miracle comeback against the Bears, and they had the big comeback late against the Niners. This is a couple of good plays, a couple of big plays away from being a very bad football team.
I'm taking the Packers in this game because I do not trust Kirk Cousins to finish the job.
What?
Kirk Cousins is regressing to the mean, and I do not like that. I do not like that, Kirk. It's just, I mean, there's a lot of good things that the Vikings have done this year. Kirk Cousins has not been the killer that he needs to be to win that division and to even compete with the likes of the Rams and the Saints. They're just not. They should have won that game at Chicago last week. Should have. They should have won.
Yeah.
And who has the killer instinct? Aaron Rodgers. And I know they didn't finish it, but in Seattle, I'm finishing my thought. I like the Packers in the spot. They're not going to go away. You talk about these teams where it's like they got to play for pride and this and that. Plus, they're getting the hook, so they're going to keep it close. This isn't going to be the Vikings blowing them out.
I think the Vikings are going to blow them out.
There you go. This is the game that we completely disagree on.
Yeah, it really is. Vikings are one of my favorite picks on the board. So,
and if they do, that's where the NFL just doesn't make any sense. And I hate picking.
I think the Packers are bad. I actually do. I think the Packers are a below average team.
Well, yes, their defense is terrible.
Yeah.
So that does help Stephon Diggs and Thielen and Dalvin Cook, who I'm just waiting to fumble again because those are always convenient. Especially when you take the Vikings to pull the upset on the road. Yeah, they're just. I think this is going to be a tight game, and when you have a tight game and you have the hook, I back the team that's the dog.
All right, finally, Titans-Texans Monday night. We don't have a lot to say about this one, and here's why. Marcus Mariota.
I have a lot to say about Tennessee,
but Mariota might not play. So we don't know anything. I mean, the line and the over-under are off at the moment. It started at 6 in favor of the Texans, but now it's off because Mariota's elbow's hurt. The elbow might be related to the nerve issue he had earlier that prevented him from gripping the ball, which he had seemingly gotten over and started playing well. But then they played badly in the first half against the Colts when he was healthy, and then the Colts killed them when he was out. And I don't know. I mean, we don't know anything about this game right
Wait, what did the spread open as?
I thought I saw 6 yesterday, but that might have factored Mariota's injury in.
I would have to agree with that
because now the lines are off everywhere.
Right. Yeah, that 6 had to have factored Mariota not playing.
Right. So, I mean, these teams, if he does play even, they've gone under, but we don't know what the over-under is. So It's kind of pointless to talk about this one right now. But, okay, by the way, one note in this.
Titans.
The quarterbacks, the Texans have won 7 in a row. Sounds great, right?
Yeah.
Here's the quarterbacks they played. Luck, pretty good. Dak. The Allen-Peterman combo in Buffalo, Bortles, Osweiler, Keenum, and then Alex Smith, Colt McCoy.
Nice.
That is an ugly 7-game winning streak right there.
Marcus Mariota's playing at 50% if he suits up, and Blaine Gabbert's garbage, so we can add that one to the list too.
Yep. So let's wait on this one and not dig too deep because we're spinning our wheels, I think.
But again, what was – look, we could ignore Mariota's injury for a second and Blaine Gabbert. What was that Titans defense? That great Titans defense.
I know.
Stopping Tom Brady. Completely shutting down the Cowboys when they had all the momentum. Like, that's where, what? That's the what? Like, stuff happens? No, maybe the Titans are just bad. Or you're never going to know what you're going to get. And that's
true.
Fade the team. Like, there are decisions you can make when you go and make these picks. Like, just don't touch the Titans because they're the box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get.
I thought I knew before this past week. I thought I knew they were coming along. And then
I don't think we were, but I don't think, because I agree. If you look at our picks, they were very similar this week again, which is really weird. I don't know if you're influencing
and that's not a good thing, everybody.
No, because I don't know if this conversation's influencing me when I make my picks on Thursday. I really do try to stay in my vacuum and make, but I think here's one kind of insight into my world of how I did fantasy football analysis. I really stayed in my lane. I didn't read competitors because I didn't want them influencing my picks. Part of this job requires us to have this discussion back and forth. And I don't think, for better or for worse, your opinions are definitely influencing something that I don't think about initially, but come back into fruition when I go and make my pick on Thursday, which is horrible. because I don't think if we had this discussion, my picks would be so aligned with you over the last 2 weeks. I really don't. Because you bring up good, and that is a respectful comment to you because I respect your opinion. Otherwise, our picks would be very different, right?
Yeah.
With that said, I think we didn't overvalue the Titans. We undervalued Luck, and we undervalued how good that Colts offense is, at least in my opinion.
All right.
That was a lot of points they put up.
There was a lot of points they put up. And by the way, you should not respect my picks. You should completely disrespect them as of right now. That's the angle you should be taking.
All I wanted to get at, what I was insinuating, John, is you're a KG veteran, and you've done this longer than I have. I think it's a compliment.
And look where it's gotten me. I'm at 6 games under 500 against the spread. Fantastic. Okay. Everybody, we're going to wrap it. Ryan is at Freelance Fowler on Twitter. I'm at JHalpin37. The main account is at Pickwatch. If you're watching this on Facebook, please subscribe to our YouTube channel where we chop up the individual game discussions. I will do the Thanksgiving Day games later today. Probably we'll put them up there. If you're watching this on YouTube later, please follow us on Facebook. We do live on Tuesday morning, Friday morning, and Sunday at 11:45 Eastern, where I go over the inactives and things like that. That's it. That's it for today's edition of Pickwatch Live. Enjoy the games Thursday. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Josh and I will be here on Friday morning, probably about 7 o'clock Eastern time, going over the rest of the games for Week 12 and wrapping up the Thanksgiving Day games. So please come on back then. For Ryan Fowler, I'm John Halpin. Thanks for watching Pickwatch Live. And again, have a happy Thanksgiving.